Hey y'all, we just had an amazing interview. It's one of many to come, and you guys don't want to miss out. Get a drink, get a beverage. If you're about to go hop on to watching another YouTube or watching something on Netflix, you can probably watch that another day. You don't want to miss this next 45 minutes or so on what we just discussed. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of To Unlearn with my next guest. See you guys
Wait,
soon.
hold up. I gotta go.
All right. So today is our very first episode of To Unlearn. And we're going to call it, because we decided to call it raw and unedited. So we have two of the most amazing people on the face of the planet. And that is no disrespect to anybody else that comes after. I'm just saying. So we got Dionne in the house. Hey, Dionne. And then we have Shanelle in the house. Hey, Shanelle. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some questions. We're going to throw it out. We're going to make it light. We're going to make it fun. And just to let everybody know what does raw and unedited mean is that we got kids, we got life, phones are going to go off, things are going to happen. And if we didn't just make life flow, it'd be mean like we're trying to filter things. No filter here. We're just going to keep it real here. And so that's what we're gonna get right into. So I did prep my peoples, but they didn't have too much of warning, so they didn't have too much to think about, because you all know that we can talk ourselves out of things, right?
Exactly.
Or we can think about things too much, where we say something that we should have wanted to say and didn't say it because we overthink things, because that's what women do, right?
Mhm,
Preach. Am I
mhm.
preaching?
Yeah.
What we do.
All right, so let's jump right in. I'm going to bring my first question to Shanelle. All right, what has been the biggest lesson you learned about being single that you would want somebody else to know?
The biggest lesson I learned about being single is that it's not all about finding someone. I think when we are surrounded by other single people and just singleness, it's scary because singleness somehow at some point in time equated loneliness. And that's not it. It's really discovering yourself and becoming comfortable with yourself. I think the title loneliness automatically gives us like this switch where it's like, I need to find someone so that I'm not alone. But
Mm,
you really haven't had an opportunity to discover who you are so that you're comfortable with being alone, not feeling lonely. Um, so really just taking that time to discover who you are and work on your growth, because you can't go to someone lonely and unprepared and ill prepared. That will come, but you still need to take the time of your singleness to work on yourself.
that's huge. Honestly, that's huge what you said. Is like, and I think I kind of learned that as I went on through life and like listening to like really pastors and people that can impart into you, is like you have to be whole. Like it's not 50-50. You know how people used to say it's a 50-50 relationship? No, you come 100, I'm coming 100. That's what is
Exactly.
going to make that work. I'm going to throw that question out to Dionne too, because I think that's also a good question to throw out to you. What has been the biggest lesson that you have learned about being single, and what would you want somebody to know about that?
Just like Chanel said, discovering yourself while you're single. A lot of people think being single is being lonely. I I love being by myself. My family sometimes tell me that I'm kind of weird. I I'm a self-care, what you call it?
Guru. I
Self-care
don't like that
guru.
word, but I'm just saying, if there was a proper word, help me with a proper word, 'cause I don't like that word guru. But if you need to know about self-care, Dionne is the person to probably go to.
Listen, I love, and I feel like when you have that time to yourself, you can take care of yourself better. And I don't have a problem with people having their relationships. I think even if you're in a relationship, you should have times to yourself,
Mm.
to have self-care, to take care of yourself, to be with your own thoughts. Um, the biggest lesson I've learned is it actually makes me like myself more.
Right.
Yeah,
Mm.
I like myself more. I can be my raw and unedited self, being by myself.
Yep.
um, yeah. Yeah. Um, what advice I would give? Did you say what advice I would give someone?
Well, like,
Or
yeah, it would be, yeah, the same thing. What lesson have you learned that you would want someone else to know? So I guess, yeah, lesson
yeah,
you learned that you would share and
just
share.
just discover yourself. There's so much to learn about yourself. Like one minute you think you have this issue in your life down because you've been through it, and you really you really don't. If
It's
you
true.
think about it, there's a domino effect of things that are going to happen, or things that will come up in your mind. Just deal with the issues in your life before you seek out a relationship.
Mhm.
Relationships can be complicated, and if you go into a relationship with baggage, and I've done that, it's not going to work. I'm talking from experience.
When you said that, there's something that I'm reminded of. If I'm evolving each day, the person that you knew yesterday no longer exists, because you're evolving every day, right? There's
Yes.
something that you thought was true yesterday. It's like, wait, but that doesn't make sense to the person you are today. So if you're discovering yourself,
Yeah.
that means that there's always something that somebody's gonna have to catch up to. It's like, but I
Mhm.
thought you said you like that. Nah, you know what? I think that's not for me right now.
Right now,
We're
yeah.
always evolving and always discovering ourselves. So what you knew about me yesterday is not true about me today,
Yeah.
And
right?
that's like
Yeah.
I feel like I try my best to fulfill the statement too, that when you know better, you do better.
Mm,
So if you're
yeah,
not, what are you doing to grow, to learn, to be able to move on to better? Like, so that, yeah, you can look back a year from now, a week from now, and be like, okay, I'm going to do this different than I did before.
right.
Different doesn't always mean better, but if you're taking the time with yourself to really explore and reflect and actually be willing to hear the things we don't want to hear,
Hmm.
Mhm.
I think then that's where the growth happens. So
Yeah.
yeah, just not just sitting in the comfort of being by yourself to the point where bitterness forms and it's like, well, I don't need anybody. You're
Mm,
Exactly.
there because you are choosing to work on yourself, not because you don't feel like other people don't want you.
right.
Right.
Like
Right.
We
really
create walls. We create
recognize.
walls and barriers.
And I've done that. I've
Yeah,
done
we have
that,
to do
yeah,
that.
for myself. But like I said, it's growth. Like I've done that, and I thought I was right, build up this wall. I don't need nobody. I can take care of my own stuff.
Yep,
And I've
preach.
grown to understand that.
Wrong and strong. Wrong and strong. You
Exactly.
want to be
Right.
wrong and
Exactly.
strong about it,
Yes.
right? So I'm
Exactly.
gonna jump into our second question. And I'm gonna throw this question out to Dionne. Let's see. So you're an aunt, that you said you're an aunt, and I've seen how you are with your nieces and nephews. So what are you most looking forward to, with growing with your nephews and nieces? And as you said, you don't have children right now, but what do you look forward into pouring into your nieces and nephews?
Um, what uh, what I pour into them is my 50 years of knowledge, what I've gained over time. Just today I was talking to my niece just a few minutes ago, and I was trying to tell her something. We have these amazing conversations, and she told me she was going to do something, and I was giving her some advice, and she was like, "No, Auntie, I'm telling you, I know what I'm doing," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, oh, okay,
It's like, child.
okay." I'm like, Michaela, listen to me. Um, I know a little about some things. Just listen to me. So what I would hope that I could give to them is like the knowledge that I've acquired over time. I don't know everything, but the things that I know, I've learned some things from her as well. She's 23, turning 23 this year, and I've learned so much from her. What I'm hoping to impart to her, I want to leave a legacy behind for my nieces and nephews. I want them to have what I didn't have, or learn what I didn't learn.
Mhm.
Not because nobody took the time, they didn't know.
Right.
So now that I have knowledge, I want to pass that on to them. And sometimes when I'm talking to her, I see myself in her, because I remember at one point I thought I knew everything. I'm like,
Like nobody can talk to you, eh?
I know this, like you don't know anything. So I have to take a step back when I'm talking to her and she gets like that. But yeah, so just the knowledge that I've acquired over time, I want to impart to all of them. It can be about anything, about life issues, about savings, about leaving a legacy for the next generation after them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want it to be full. I want it to be a full and rich legacy. That's what I want it to be.
Okay. Do you have anything that you would want to chime in on that, Shanelle? What would you like to impart for your children? What do you want to leave for your children?
I want to help them understand that it's okay to make mistakes. Um, because as much as, well, like you said, unlearn, right? Like, as much as there is years of experience behind my life and being able to trickle that into their life, um, somewhere with my upbringing, it was just like the expectation to like walk this fine and narrow.
Mm,
I am, depending on who you ask, I'm one of 6 or 9 sibling wise. But I've always I've always been, I'm the youngest girl. So it's like, well, you don't need to make that mistake because this one did that and that one did that. So really just like, okay, but like I want to make my own mistakes because I don't know how it'll play out for me.
right.
And so just not putting that pressure on them, like, oh, you spilled the milk. Okay, cool. Can we clean it up? Like, what do you need to clean it up? Do you want to clean it up with the napkin, the cloth, or the mop? Like, there are options to clean this mess up. So
Right.
rather than freaking out over spilt milk, because it's going to happen again, it's just like, giving them the tools to make the mistakes, but to also see their way through it, rather than it being this combustible moment that, 30 years down the road becomes a legal issue because they still don't know how to cope with
Exactly.
change or upset. As a parent of boys, like, you really have to think about what that might look like when they're older. So just helping to embed some of those skill sets that you could see play out a little differently.
Yeah. That's very deep, Chanel. Yeah.
You know,
That's
you know
deep.
what? Sorry, I'm trying to listen, but an interruption happened to ask me to play on the PS4, and they only ask these questions when they know you're busy and you
Because you're
don't,
distracted.
right?
You're gonna say yes because you want them gone. That's the hope,
Right.
everyone.
But I'm trying to, I've been working on that, is that don't ask me questions when you know I'm busy, because I'm just going to get a little annoyed because you're trying to use a moment of opportunity. That's what
Yeah.
you're trying to use. But there's a couple things that you guys said that I really had, I really had, liked that you guys were talking about how you want to leave a legacy for your nephews and nieces, how you want to make sure that they know that there are options out there, because oftentimes we weren't given options. It's like you have the opportunity to do all of this, and that's what I want to do for my kids as well. Is like, yeah, there are these different avenues, but there's multiple ways to these avenues. Like when we're going to my mom's house, my kids are like, but that's not the way to grandma's house, and I purposely take different roads purposely, just for them to understand is, yes, we have a destination to go to, but there's multiple ways to get to that destination. And so we take these little life lessons, and they're so applicable to what comes on later in life, right? So
Right.
sometimes we miss those opportunities to make each moment a learning opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are part of building legacies. It's like, okay, you want to be a firefighter. Okay, what kind of firefighter do you want to be? Well, I mean, obviously there's not many options in being a firefighter, but
Hmm.
I mean, do you want to stay here? Do you want to go across the seas? Do you want to be a part of world disasters when fires are happening? Where do you want to take that firefighting
Yeah.
opportunity? How do you want to see that? So I think that is so important, is that giving them the opportunity, leaving that legacy, that wealth of knowledge, because sometimes they don't know how to do it. Like even with myself, like starting a business, who do I turn to? Like how many people do I know in your immediate family have started a business? Where's the template? Who are the people you
Right.
can go to for advice, right? So I think what you guys said was very spot on with that. So my next question, I'm going to throw it over to Shanelle. So why do you think that people find it difficult to spend $100 on their self-care, but find $100 more valuable going to the movie, or vice versa, starting a business? They think, oh man, I couldn't do that. But if they were supposed to go on, I don't know, just give out. You know what I mean? People don't really find the value in where they put their dollars and cents because it's better spent here, but does it advance you in another place? I'd rather do it here, but it doesn't all add up, right? So how do you see that? Like what does that all mean to you?
I see that as my whole life. Like,
Mhm.
like I'm like you're literally speaking to my younger self. But it's just I think a level of maturity possibly, or a sense of priority or lack of.
Mhm.
Of course, it's like I want instant gratification. So right now,
That's the
I'm
word.
at this
I
hundred
just wrote
dollars.
that word down. Instant gratification. That
That is the
is,
Right.
word.
It's like right now, I want this.
Mhm.
I I've grown up where it's like it doesn't matter how much food costs. If everybody's hungry, we're buying food. Granted, I could probably take the same amount of money and go to the grocery store and buy meals,
Mm.
plural, for the
yeah.
week,
Right.
rather than a one night sit in leftovers that no one's going to eat the next day. But right now, we really want Chinese food.
That's true.
Like,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah. Right.
But I think there's a shift and a sense of priority that takes place where it's like, okay, am I in a position where I'm looking and I'm thinking I'm a little bit future forward and what that might look like? Because cool, I could spend $100 right now, or I could kind of budget it, appease a little bit. For me, Dionne's real good like with the self-care. I'm terrible at it, because I always leave myself last. And then
Mhm.
I'm like, by the time I remember that I forgot about myself, I was like, next time, like, and then really next time doesn't come.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I've got this $100. I'm gonna feed my children. When I go home, I'll see what there is to eat. Like it really just the dynamics have changed, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just me, or we're in a time and in a season where it's like, okay, yes, my next paycheck's coming, but I don't know, what the provincial expectations are going to look like, or where the money's going to get cut, or
Right.
am I going to work next week? Like what's
Bad question.
happening?
Right. I laugh, but it's true. Like not a
It's
laughter,
true.
but it's a true thing.
It's true. Sorry. Yeah, it's true.
Hi,
Everything is up in
boys.
the air.
You're gonna say hi, and then we're gonna keep it moving.
It's life. It's
Yeah,
life.
it's what it is, right? Because I know there was a second part to that question, and I think I might have went over it. If you don't mind repeating.
That's okay. What was that? Sorry. I was asking you. Oh man, I lost it too because I was so engaged in what you were saying. So why is it why do we find it valuable spending money somewhere else rather than when it comes to doing something beneficial for us like our self-care or putting into a business or putting into something that is going to advance us, but it's so much easier to splurge it on something else that is a instant gratification as we talked about.
Fear. I was like, one's instant gratification, why we do it instantaneously, and I think the other portion is fear. And though we may not, sorry for the background noise,
That's okay.
though we may not recognize it as fear in the moment, it can often mask itself as doubt, or
Right.
like the thought that this is not for me. Like you're waiting for this magic answer to drop out the cloud to just tell you, or someone to knock on, an Amazon man to knock on your door and be like, now's the time. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
have a package for you, but
Prime.
now's the time,
Prime.
right?
We want Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. That's it. I'm a Prime
That is
myself.
good.
True. Dionne,
But
would
yeah,
you like to chime in on that?
Yeah, when you said that, that brought me back to some of the clients that I meet with. I'll meet with them and we'll talk about setting a budget for, starting their financial plan. And when I write down the things that they're spending money on, and they seem to be so important to them, and I'm looking at a phone bill that's like $300 a month, two people, and like
Your chest, eh?
a
Like everything
cable
you
bill
just
is like $200. And I'm saying, okay, so where can we cut to put $100 so we can put some savings into place, put some insurance into place just in case anything happens. This is like your security blanket where they're like, we don't have any money like this. All our money is spent, and it breaks my heart because they believe this. They're like, okay, we need to do this. And so when Shanelle said instant gratification, I wrote that down before she said it. So I think we're all thinking the same thing. I think we want instant gratification, and whatever we want now, we just want it now. We're
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about the future. And I think it's how society has set us up. We're set up this way, and we have to think outside the box. Where do I make changes to make sure that I have a plan? And I always tell people, you have to have a plan for everything. I've gone without a plan for some things, and I've seen I've seen the problem that it leads to. So you have to plan. Um, just even with making a budget, don't ever leave yourself out. You don't have to leave yourself out. Even the Chinese food that you like, all you have to do is tell yourself, okay, if I buy Chinese food for 2 times in a week, I'm going to cut it down to one. Or
Mm,
even if I buy it two times in the week, let's say we cut the budget. So if I spend $60 on Chinese food, I'm going to spend only 25. There are ways that you can cut
right.
back, but like, trust me, I've done it myself. If I like something, I'm going to do it, and I will tell myself. I have to draw back myself sometimes and say, okay, you have to practice what you preach.
Right. That's so true.
Right?
So here's what we're
Yeah.
going to do because I think we have another 25 minutes. I'm
Mhm.
going to send you guys another link because I forgot that I have to. I'm going to work on my game for this because I don't want this to happen for the next interview. So I'm going to hang this up. Give us another 30 minutes because by the time that one comes around, we should be at time. So let me just send you guys another link right quick. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
All righty. So
So
yeah.
hold on. So as I did tell you guys that sometimes we're gonna have interruptions, and what your girl didn't think about is that three or more people isn't free on Zoom. Your girl's gonna get that right. This is the first time, doesn't mean it's gonna be perfect the first time around. So, as we were saying, Dionne was talking about instant gratification because we're talking about we just spoke about it. You'll see it in the other clip because we're gonna put it all together, but you're gonna hear it again. So continue, D.
Yeah, so as Chanel was saying, she said she's always did she say she was always looking out for others over herself? She makes sure everybody else is okay. It's okay. I think it's good that we want to serve people. It's always good, but we must always remember to refresh ourselves to make sure that we're okay, because we won't be good servants if we're not serving in the right mode, the right, I mean, if we're not taking care of ourselves, right? Even if we're taking care of our children,
Right.
you have to make sure that you're okay, and that because children they can feel things. They sense it. If you don't say, if you don't even have to say it, they can feel it.
Right.
So, and I believe also with, when we're trying to change the things that we're doing, that doesn't fulfill what we really want to do in life, include the children. Let them see it. Um, let them experience it as well. It doesn't have to be a negative for them. And then if they have questions, let them ask you, talk them through it. Like when I was growing up, I saw my mom
You come
would,
from a big house. Just before, you and Chanel actually come from two like immediate household families. Your mom has 8 kids, and
yeah,
Chanel comes from that range of
right, right.
siblings, lots of siblings too, right?
And yes, and my mom was a single mom. Even in the beginning, when my dad was there, my mom was doing everything by herself. So I thought she was this strong woman taking care of things. And she was just, she was amazing to me. But I didn't realize that she was struggling. And I picked that up when I talked to her a few years ago, and we discussed that because of something she said. But I realized growing up, I was always tense, and I realized that what I was taking on was her issues. She didn't see
Mm,
that. I had
wow.
asthma, and they couldn't tell me why I had asthma. I was suffering with asthma.
Wow.
And I realized that I was holding things in. I was probably feeding off of her energy,
Mm,
because she made
wow.
everything look so easy when it wasn't. And how that came about was she said, I feel, she said she woke up one morning and she felt anxious because there was no milk in the house. My mom doesn't have any babies in the house, and she felt anxious. And she said it brought her back to the days when she was struggling and there. And I'm like, when? I thought we were rich. And she said, like, I said, I thought we were rich. I thought we were the rich kid on the block. Like we had everything. She's like, you have no idea. And then I started to think about it. I remember there was times when she was so tense, but she never said anything.
Mm.
But she looked good. She was taking care of things. She was going out, flying. She would fly out to the Cayman Islands. So that's why I thought we were rich.
Wow.
We weren't. She was trying to build a business, it seemed. When we talked about, she was trying to build a business to get to the next level. But again, because there was no foundation, she didn't know what she was doing. She was just trying a thing, right? So, and we weren't included in it. So we didn't know what she was trying to do. Had we understand what she was trying to do, then we would probably be in a different place as our kids, seeing other things and understanding how to be like self-employed and things like that. So, the things that you do with spending money and gratifying yourself instantly, just make sure that even if you do it, just show your kids, like show them in a way where it's not overbearing for them, and just let them see what the end result is of you know this all of what you're doing. They'll understand.
So that kind of is going to lead me into my next question. We have a couple more questions just before we wrap up, but that will lead me into my next question because we talked about instant gratification and we talked about legacies and stuff. And I think this one is going to be like a little bit of a nudge for some people because we're on the topic of money now. So we've all had different conversations, Shanelle, you and I, Dionne, you and I, on separate occasions. We've talked about RESPs, we've talked about savings and life insurance and investments and giving and tithing, right? And these are big things. And as Dionne was talking about conversations we want to have with our kids, and Shanelle alluded to the fact is that, you want to have these conversations with your kids, right? Sit down, have conversations with them, and making sure you're including them in certain things. So I don't know if Dionne remembers a conversation that had happened one time. I'm gonna have her just talk about it a little bit. We had a life insurance meeting, and tell them about that meeting that we had and what happened in that life insurance meeting.
Okay, so I remember that. So this was when I just started out at Sun Life. And we met with you. We wanted to build a financial plan. Myself and my manager met with you, and the kids were there, but they were supposed to be playing in the background, doing their own thing.
That's what
Because
kids are supposed to do.
yeah, we were trying to have adult conversation and get business done. But
Mhm.
all the other kids were there doing their thing. And Jeanette, I think she was about 10.
Honest, well, she 4, probably. I don't remember,
Yeah, she
but
was very
she
young.
wasn't young, but she wasn't like
Right.
14 as she is now. So I think it was probably like between that age, 9, 10.
And we're sitting at the table having this serious conversation, trying to put things in order. And this kid is sitting there. And I noticed that she's sitting there, but I'm like, okay, this should be boring for her. Like, why is she still sitting there? She needs to go play with the kids. And her grandmother kept saying, Jeanette, you have to come and shower. And she's sitting there with her pen and paper. And I'm like, what is she writing? And we're talking and we're having this serious discussion. We're putting things in the computer and whatever. And her grandmother said again, Jeanette, you have to shower to go to bed. And she's still sitting there with her paper and pen. And I'm like, okay. But anyways, my manager said, this kid, like, she's amazing. She's sitting here in this conversation. I don't even know if she knows what's being said. I don't think she knew what was being said, but she felt that it was important. And she's sitting there and she's not budging. Grandma called her about 6 times and she's not budging. She's like, not now, Grandma. And she's sitting there with her pen. And when it was, I think right at the end, I said, what did I say again? I said, did I ask her what she was doing?
I don't
Or we made
remember.
a comment. I think we made a comment like, this is amazing. She sat out. I think we were there for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, we were there for a while.
And she
Yeah.
sat there during that whole time, and she took everything in. because at the end of it, she drew a picture. My manager still has it on her desk. She drew a picture of us and what we were discussing. It's like a picture that tells a story. Like we were sitting there discussing important issues, and she had a heading over my head that said, um, can't remember what it said, but she gave me a compliment. Like she appreciates me being there, teaching her mom something that is important. This
Oh,
is a kid, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I remember in my day, if we ever
Sat
were
at a
ever
table
present,
when grown folks are talking.
okay,
come on.
there would be a problem.
There would. But when, right. But I think that's where the conversation is changing now, where we're in a place where we do want our children to be financially
Yes,
aware. We do want our
yes,
children to know what's going on, not in a disrespectful way. If there's a conversation happening that they should not be a
yeah.
part of, but I think we're where we are in society is that we're not even society. I think based on where we came from and our background, we weren't taught about certain financial
Hmm.
literacy. We weren't taught about certain things. And if we did, it fell off because life experience. But our kids need to be at certain tables for them to
Yeah.
understand that this is what's going to happen in life, right? Don't, by all means, we're not completely there, but it's something that I'm learning is that this is important for them to also also be aware of, right? Shanelle, do you have any experiences that you've had with RESP, life investments, life insurance? There's anything that you want to kind of talk about um, from your past or anything like that? Why these things are important to you?
I think that they're important because you are saving for your future.
Hmm.
Um, my past has really tarnished that opportunity for me. I grew up learning that the minute you get a job, doesn't matter how old you are, as soon as you get that job, you open up all of the accounts, the savings account, the RESP, the GIC, the life insurance, like you start paying into it.
Mm.
Then at that young age, I started working when I was 15. I also heard that you can still take the money out. There may be a fee, but you can take the money out. Then, you grow and you're young and you're dumb and you think you're in love because it's
It's what
sometimes
it is.
we do.
Happened to the
You know what I
best of us.
mean? It's right. It's just the way things go. And then the logic starts to disappear. And it's like,
Mm.
remember, you could take it out. You could take it out. And so I ended up emptying all of those accounts for, the sake of thinking I was being a helping hand or the fake promises that it would be paid back.
Right.
So now where I'm at, trying to start over, finally understanding the importance of the foundation that I should have set, it's like, man, you could think about where you'd be now.
Hmm.
Um,
Honestly,
even right. Even just contemplating like, okay, yes, I have life insurance, but is the life insurance the one that I have, like, is it the best one that I have
Exactly.
mm,
Yeah.
for me? Great, I've got it, check. But is it the one that's going to help my children set up for their future?
I'll pause you right there. That is honestly, with age comes hopefully some type of wisdom. It's like you learn that, and I guess the funny thing about this too is that you have to talk to the right people because sometimes when you talk to the wrong people, they'll give you
Hmm.
advice and like, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense, but are they even qualified to be even telling you anything? Where did they even hear that information from? Did you hear it from Aunt Becky? Is Aunt Becky
Yeah,
even qualified to be even telling you that? Yeah, I'm
exactly.
just saying it's real, right? We hear a lot of things and it comes from people that seem like they have knowledge, but it's not coming from the right source of people that have the knowledge. You understand what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, and the education is important, right?
Yes.
Like,
So
as
important.
much as we're told you need to have X, Y, and Z, I would have preferred there to be or an opportunity to really ask those questions.
Like a sit
Hmm.
down.
Right. To
Yeah.
ask those questions, not just be told, but for me
Hmm.
to understand and like knowing my children, they're very logical. One more than the other, but
Yep.
Hmm.
my eldest, it's like, okay, I should do this, explain to me why.
Right.
so that he can see the picture behind it, because that's where the change comes, in knowing better, in
Mhm.
actually understanding how it's applicable to where you are in life right now, and not just trying to get the best bang for your buck and it
Mhm.
kick you when you're
Yeah.
down and out, right?
Yeah.
um my house is a house of entrepreneurs, and I think generationally, like, that's just
Mhm.
the way the climate is.
Right.
Son makes barbecue sauce, my brother produces music, I make soap,
Girl.
my mom makes hot sauce, and we
Mhm.
all have our foot in, our
Yeah.
careers as well. So it's like, you can't put yourself in a position to grow, which without having that financial backup. Like, now that you're growing and you're learning and you're evolving, what are you doing with your money?
Right.
Because
Exactly.
it growing and sitting in an account, or it growing to just pay for your next supply order,
Mhm.
isn't it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just
And that's all about having the right people around you too, right?
Yeah.
Not
right.
just in the sense that people that are going to support you, but that when you're talking about entrepreneurship and talking about putting the money where you are, like I think about it is like sometimes I wish the things that I knew now, I knew them then. But then I think about it is that I had to grow to really get it in me, to really believe it, right? Because I'm like, why
Right.
didn't I get it before? But I think a lot of things have to happen in a certain order for
Yeah.
you really to catch onto it. It's like a hook. That
Yeah.
fish is not gonna take that bait unless it's, you know what I mean? You guys know what I mean. But
Yeah. Yeah.
for Dionne, do you want to chime in on that? Because I feel like you want to chime in on.
Yes, yes. Chanel said so many things that are so important. Education is the key. You don't know everything. We don't know everything. Um, I tell people, even people that want to invest, and they have all these quick investment things online right now, and they're fun. I'm included in them because I love it. I think it's fun. And it's a way to teach people as well. I get people's foot in, and then they'll start asking questions.
Hmm.
But a lot of people have the misunderstanding that having a financial advisor, you have to have money. You don't pay a financial advisor. And that's my first education, my first thing to educate people on, because that's their first thing. I don't have money to pay an advisor. It's not the way it is. And you hit on so many things, it's amazing. Um, I want you to understand that you made some good choices when you were young. If you opened all those accounts when you were young, that's amazing. Somebody you might have heard it somewhere, and somebody might have tried to give you some information, but they didn't give you the proper information. Because I've heard people said they talk to people about RESP, and they say, "Oh, don't open that. The government is going to take the money from you." None of that is true. It's true.
Mhm.
And this person left money on the table for years. Finally, when I got to the person, the kid was 15 years old,
Wow.
right? But somebody told her, "Oh, the government will take back the money, so
But
don't
what
put
really
that
does
money."
happen though? What really does
What
happen?
really happens is that an RESP is for a child, a savings for a child to go to school.
Right.
Now, if the child decides not to go to school, not to go to a post-secondary education, then the government takes back their contribution, which
Their
makes
money, the
sense.
money they
Their
put
money.
in.
I have a client that her two sons, she had a family RESP, and her two sons didn't go to university or college. They didn't want to do it. Um, I told her she could have kept it in until they're in their late 30s now, for 30 years. It could stay in there for whenever they decide to go to college. She said no, because she was about to retire and she wanted to take the money out and put it in her RRSP, which that's what you can do as well. So it's a double-edged sword. If the kid doesn't want to go to university or college, you can put that money into your RRSP. So that's money for your retirement.
Hmm.
And this was a person who didn't have a lot of money, but she was putting away $100 every month into it. And she didn't even remember $100 didn't even affect her because it just came right out of her pay.
Mm.
And so over time, she had a chunk of money, which she didn't make all the proper plans for her retirement, but that money went into an RRSP for her. The kids didn't go to school. So it's not, get the proper education, get the proper understanding. You having, like you said, you have a life insurance. A lot of people have life insurance. I met one client as well. Somebody sold her a policy that was supposed to be have cash value. And I know once people hear cash value, oh yeah, that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
This was the wrong policy for her. She was paying like almost $200 for it. This is somebody that's cash strapped, paying
Wow.
$200, and she's young. She got it when she was in her like 20s. So
Wow.
she could have gotten something that is term. She could have saved some money, like take some of that $200 and put it into the market, earn on that investment. So she could have had two things going at the same time while
Right.
she's protected, but the person failed to plan for her, to build a proper financial plan for her. Because all of us have different circumstances and situations. And that's why you have to sit with somebody on your, like even walking into a bank. I worked in the bank for 17 years, and I see people come in, and it was just the microwave thing as well. Oh, we throw it into a GIC. A
And nothing
GIC,
is really happening with it.
nothing. The most a GIC will earn for you is 2% in the bank.
Let me just jump in there for a second, just for the in the talk we were talking about life insurance. I don't want to take too much time on this, just so we can get in. But from my experience with life insurance, I've had insurance for quite a while. My mom always made sure we had life insurance from the time like she knew that I need to have knowledge of it. But I
Mhm.
think the true revelation where life insurance set in for me, like, what was that saying? They're saying if you can't afford to have life insurance, you can't or something. Do you guys know what that's saying? There's a saying that says if you can't afford it, you can't afford not to have life insurance.
Exactly.
And I think that came to effect. We had a tragic loss in our family, and I know I'm not trying to harsh it up or anything, but that was the harsh reality of it for me.
Yeah.
Is like, this was pre kids, pre marriage, pre whatever. It was like, yeah, I cannot not afford to have
Mhm.
life insurance. And people, some of you may know who are watching in, we had a unexpected death in our family, and that shook my world.
Yeah.
And for a family that had it together and was doing well, and for them to see what I had seen them go through, I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah. So life insurance, whatever you have to do, make sure you have it, because that shook my world. I mean,
Yeah.
shook my world to the core. So things like those I've learned to look at. So life experiences, as we've all
Mhm.
talked about,
Mhm.
really allow us to see the value in the things. And I think that's what a lot of people have to go through, to see the value in why it's important to get yourself in the market, whatever that market looks like. So I know we're coming down for time. I want to take just another couple minutes just to wind this down and let us continue on with this beautiful afternoon that we're having. So, what are some key things from your parents' upbringing that differ from your parenting or the way you view parenting? Who wants to take that one?
Chanel.
Anybody? Let me. I know I threw that out there. Usually, I have one of you guys go, but I think I'll start off on this one. So,
Mhm.
the key things from my upbringing that differs from my parenting is that I think with my mom, she didn't push me to do anything, and I don't think that came from a point where she just didn't want to. She didn't want to force me to do anything, but I wish she forced me to do certain things. You know what I mean? Not in the terms of force, but like, yeah, if you started it, you gonna finish it. You asked me to do it, you gonna finish it. I did piano for 2 lessons. I did French. Like, I really wish I continued French, and now I teach myself French now because I wish I continued in French immersion. I did it for all of elementary school. Did it in couple years in high school, and then I stopped because I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do this. And so where I look at that for somebody else, that like, I don't want my parents to push me. I don't wish that, but I wish they had done that for me. So for me, I would want to say that's what would differ from how I want to parent. I want to encourage them. If you start it, you're finishing it. That's teaching them the resilience and teaching them how to finish what you start. Don't stop in between, right? So that's something that I think that differs from the way that, is it wrong the way that she did it? No, because that was in the way that she saw it best for me. But that, I think that also helped me to not do the same thing that, or to unlearn, because that's what we're talking about. Unlearn that what was done, right? So who else wants to take that?
I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Just in addition to that, like you're right. They weren't wrong in how they choose to parent or what avenues they did, but we also grew up in a different time, like day and age where, you know, there was a lot more innocence, or at least perceived that way. And so I think like us growing up now and being in those circumstances really educating our children. Like I know that there are some things that, like, I know the expectation to cook. It's there. Live in a twinny household. Like you have to know how to cook, but it wasn't forced on me to cook because they're both of my parents can do it. It's there. It's just I need to have the ability to do it. And then I was able to make my meals for myself as early as 7, like small things, but be able to provide. It's like, okay, you're good to get married once you know how to make roti. That's that's like
That's a
the
good
the
one.
staple thing, right? Like you can make roti, you're good to be on your own now. But yeah, like even just bringing my kids into the kitchen, because it's more of a I feel like I grew up in a look at what I'm doing, learn from what I'm doing, but not like get your hands into it
Yes,
with
yeah, with
me,
it. Mhm.
right? And it's the
Yeah.
same dynamic we were saying even in terms of a conversation. Like big people are talking, why are you in the room?
Mhm.
Go to the different room. Like it's happening, you might be able to hear it, but you can't participate in it.
Right.
Um, and so
Mm-mm. Hi.
Bye. Right. So like you just have to be able to let them be in it
Roll
sometimes
with it.
and just
Roll with it.
go. But yeah, like even just I have two kids. I have two kids that are polar opposites of one another. Literally, if one
Mom,
says up, the other will say down,
are we
just
gonna ride
because
our bikes
the other
after
one
the
said up.
meeting?
I'll let you know after the meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, like he'll go out of their way. It's like, wait, what did he say? Oh, he said up. No, I want to go down. Like,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
just, and then it's like, okay, how to manage that and it be okay. And even reminding them, for me, a big thing that I am working on with them is consent. Um, because given everything we've seen in the news, consent is huge. And I don't think people understand the
Yeah.
impact or how minimal of a situation consent can be misunderstood. So, yes, they're brothers. And yes, I'm their mom, and, they're around their grandmas, aunties, and uncles. But if they say, give me a hug, they don't have to
That's
give you a hug.
exactly.
That
They're
is
Mhm.
so
not
important.
obligated.
You hit a nail on the head with that one. And I
Yeah.
try to talk to my kids about that too, right?
Exactly, right? And like for me, growing up, it's like well, you're disrespectful, disobedient, and your child has no manners.
Right.
And it's like, why are you like, I don't even know you.
Right.
Like, that's your auntie from like your uncle's
Yeah.
Yeah, I
brother's
still don't know
like,
you though.
I still don't know you, right? And so like really trying to drill that home for my kids. Like, listen, if your brother says he doesn't want to hug, you need to respect that. You need to know, not to make him feel guilty about it. Because
Yeah.
typically the follow-up will be like, oh, so you don't love me? You don't want to hug me? I'm your brother though. And I'm like, but don't make him feel guilty for a choice that he is empowered to make,
Mhm.
Right.
because down the road there are going to be other decisions that you need to make as an adult, as a teenager, whatever it may be, and consent is key.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A doctor has to have consent to check, like, can you open your mouth? I don't know,
Mhm.
like, should I open my mouth? Like,
Right.
it's very minimal. Or just the mannerisms that take place, like those things are key. And I think you have to start small so that they understand the
Absolutely.
concept, so that when the bigger things come, it's like,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
Right.
this is why, that reflective piece happens.
That's funny. I'm gonna let Dionne chime in on that. But what we've been talking about for like a month solid is like we've been talking about the fruit of the spirits, right? And the one of the fruit of the spirits that we're working on is self-control. I'm like, so if you can't have self-control over your anger now with what I'm talking about, how are you gonna have self-control when something bigger comes along, right? It's like control what you can as within the walls that you have it now. So when bigger issues come, you're not being hauled off to jail for it.
Yeah.
You're not being reprimanded for something. So you're right, those small things right now do lead to bigger consequences in the future. So if we don't, fine tune them, that means we as parents may have not done our job. You know what I mean? Not that we, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dionne, want to chime in on
No,
what
listen,
Shanelle said?
that is so important that we teach kids, because we're living in a different time. Like, it's everything, like I said, is loose. So we have to teach our kids.
That
I
word,
use that word.
loose.
It's just loose. We have to teach our kids, what that no means no.
Yep.
You don't have to feel guilty about saying no. If you say no to something, it's no. You can have an opinion, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong, or you're trying to hurt anybody. It's your opinion. As long as you're loving, as long as you're kind, but you can have your own opinion, and what you believe, your philosophy is your philosophy. And you stick to it. You don't flutter back and forth, like you don't know what's going on. And I
Based
think
on
that's
peer pressure,
important.
right?
Yeah, we have to teach our kids that, because that's why they get into a lot of things that they shouldn't get into.
That's
You know what
true.
I mean? So
Exactly.
I applaud that.
Yeah, that is huge. And for our kids, we talk about that too. It's like you do at the end of the day, everything is about peer pressure, and peer pressure doesn't look like what peer pressure looks like anymore.
Exactly.
Internet,
Hmm.
media,
Hmm.
all the things that they're exposed to, those pop-up ads that come on when they're watching something on YouTube or whatever, right? So it doesn't have to be face-to-face peer pressure anymore, because obviously we're not in schools anymore, but the pressure is still there. So
Yeah.
let's just wrap up with our last question. And so you either can answer, what has been your favorite Bible scripture, or what has been your favorite quote that has like gotten you through, or you just remember it? It doesn't have to get you through anything, but what's your favorite Bible verse, and or what is your favorite quote? Anyone?
So because I saw the question, I had to actually look up the scripture reference, because it's one of those things where you
Yep.
tell yourself all the time.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
So it's Exodus 14:14,
Mm-hmm.
where it says that the Lord will fight for you. You
Yes.
need only to be still. And I'm just like, okay, Lord, like, be still. I literally have those light up signs where you can put the letters in and it illuminates if you turn it
Of course you do.
on my dresser, and it says peace, be still. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. And it just is a reminder to remain calm in the midst of any storm that's happening, or in the midst of any drama, or because, like, it's just for a season.
Yeah.
The season might be a little too long
Just a
according to
little longer than you're wanting it to be. Just
right,
a little bit.
but it's still for a season, and if I'm still enough, I will hear God let me know that He's with me, that He will see me through it, and that I am not alone. And I will have an opportunity to reflect and be reminded of where I was the last time I thought I wasn't going to get through it,
Right.
and the
Hmm.
fact that I'm no longer there. So just keeping that's one of the scriptures that keep me grounded.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
For me, it's the Lord is my shepherd. I have a lot of scripture that I love to I meditate upon them on a daily basis. Sheena, you know how I do. I surround myself with the Word of
Yeah,
God.
she just called me by
Um,
my nickname. Just omit
I love
that.
it.
Yeah, she did. It's
oh,
okay.
sorry, Heather Lynn. Sorry.
It's okay. You already make it gone, bud. It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd in everything. There, like last night when we were talking in our prior meeting, I was saying that God provides us with everything that we need. He's our shepherd. We might not get the steak that we want, but he still provides food for us.
Right.
We might ask for all these extravagant things, and we might not get it because it's not what we really need. He gives us what we need. So that's my go-to all the time. The Lord is my shepherd.
All right, so
That's
I'll
it.
go with mine. Mine is Isaiah 40, verse 31. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as an eagle. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And there are a lot of scriptures that I could go to. Like I
Mhm.
do have a lot of favorite scriptures, but I thought this one was like just fitting for right now, like where we are right now. It's like just wait on God. Literally, just wait on
Yeah.
him, and he will renew your strength, because right now, although we're not doing as many of the activities that we should be, I'm tired. Like
Yeah.
like I'm not talking about like being physical tired because of the kids. I'm just, oh, you're inside, you're outside, you can't go here, you can't do it, it's tiring
This is
to just keep hearing, because you're just used to doing your own thing. And but God's trying to renew your strength in this season, though.
yeah.
Like, just don't miss it, right? He's trying to renew your strength in this season. Although everything that's happening is tiring, he's not sleeping. He understands what's going on. He's trying to renew you for the season that's coming, because there is a next season coming, right?
Mhm.
So it's like
Mhm.
he wants to mount you up with some wings. You're going to look like a pretty eagle at the end of the day. Right now, things look like you're a pigeon.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just saying, like, that is like one of the scriptures that came up alive in me for this season. What I'm not, yeah, for me, that's what he wants to do, some new thing. Just wait on him, and he's got you. And so I'm
Yeah.
gonna start off with one of my favorite quotes, and it comes from Nelson Mandela. Let me just pull it up here. I think it says, I never lose. Have you guys ever heard that one? I never
Yes. I
lose.
never
Either
lose.
I'm gonna
Yes.
pull it up. I lost it, but I'm gonna pull it up right now.
What was by Nelson Mandela? I've seen a
It
lot
says,
of
I
people say.
never lose. I either win or learn. I like
Mhm.
that. You
Yeah.
can't, either which way, if you look at a situation that you lost, it's like, but did you learn something from it though?
Yes.
Or if you
Yes.
didn't learn something from it, you probably won. But I like that. It's so
Mhm.
practical. I never lose. I either win or I learn.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
I like that one. So if y'all don't have any quotes, does anybody have a quote that they like or want to share?
I just looked it up, and honestly, I don't know if Maya Angelou said it or who said it, to be honest. And it just says, I've learned that people will never forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how they made you, they made
Made
you
them feel.
feel.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And vice versa, right? And I think for me, I associate that with learning and with growing. And it's like, it's all about the timing and the people in your environment. Whether you've taught me how to change or you've taught me how to grow, whether you've made me upset or happy, you've still taught me something. And it's
Right.
something that has contributed to my foundation that's continuing to help develop my character, my resistance, my persistence. Like
Wow.
it's just ongoing. And so for that, like it doesn't matter who you are, whether I see you once or I see you 300 times, there's a feeling that's left
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
And so
Mm, I
that is
like that.
what we take, right?
Yeah, I like that. D,
Mhm.
do you have one?
I have one. I don't know who said it. It's be the change you want to see.
Oh my gosh, I have this ring. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
I got this ring
Mm-hmm.
from Winners. I was just looking for a ring because I wanted a ring, and it actually has those inscriptions on the front
Yeah.
and inside.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Sorry guys, I got a little geeky on
That's
that one.
mine.
A little geeky on
That's
that
mine.
one. But I like that one. That is a good one. Guys, thank you so much for joining us and being on the first ever episode to Unlearn. This was a really good conversation, like so amazing, so important for all the things that we talked about. Hopefully we're doing something for somebody out there who may not have the support that we may have, but this is
Mhm.
probably the beginning of somebody's support to learning something and being the change in their family line or whatever that is. So thank you
Exactly.
guys again for coming to Unlearn.
Thank
Have
you
an
for having
amazing
me.
day. Bye,
Have
guys.
a great day, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I got a God don't change with the season.